gentlemen, Your Excellencies, dear guests, what a pleasure to return to ESTAAD 1 year after we have inaugurated our fast-paced, dynamic, vibrant partnership with Cityscape Global. Being here as the sport integrity partner is not the fulfillment of an obligation, it is an honor and a privilege. Together, we have co-curated a series of high-level sessions that reflect the very best of what sport can offer to the world. Vision, unity, purpose, and inspiration. Today we gather to celebrate sport precisely in a country, Saudi Arabia, that is undergoing a remarkable transformation. As we were welcomed in this amazing facility, it was inescapable, the progress, the change, the modernity, the innovation, the ambition that we see everywhere on every pavilion that we have visited. And it's fair to say this, because this nation has embraced sport, not as a pastime, but as a catalyst, as an engine for innovation, human development, social progress, economic diversification, and sustainable growth. The Vision 2030 is not a slogan. It is a blueprint for a thriving future in which sport, as the Deputy Minister, His Excellency Badr Al-Qadi, has mentioned. And we just need to look around. New world-class stadiums rising from the desert sands. Global competitions from football to motorsports, from esports to combat sport, being hosted here at a scale that has been rarely seen. Investment in youth, women's football, in academies, in community programs that empower and inspire the next generation. And bold strides, yes, bold strides to become a leading hub for sporting excellence and integrity across Asia and the world. And this is why we are here. This is why SIGA is here. Our vision, our global mission, and our reform agenda are fully aligned with this momentum. We believe sport can only reach its full potential when integrity stands tall, when transparency, accountability, and good governance are not only options, but indeed essential. And this is why we were created. This is why we exist, to usher global sport into an era where integrity is on the podium. This year, for us, and for the global community that we represent, marks a major milestone in our mission. And we have given a bold step forward just a week ago, last Wednesday, when not very far from here, we have inaugurated our 4th continental structure, SIGA Asia, Dubai chapter. So from there to where we are in Riyadh, from Doha to Tokyo, from Mumbai to Kuala Lumpur, we are committed to strengthen our effort to collaborate with all like-minded authorities, governments, international organizations, leagues, clubs, federations, and all stakeholders who believe in sports power to inspire and transform societies. Asia, ladies and gentlemen, remarkably is rising in the world of sport, and we are proud to rise with it. Significantly, this event concludes coincides with the Sport Integrity Action Month, our global movement dedicated to mobilize every corner of the sports ecosystem. Until now, just in 3 weeks, we have already more than 60 implementing partners, corresponding to more than 30 large cities and 20 countries across the world. And let me tell you, this wave is just at the beginning. Every day, new partners, new allies, new committed supporters are joining. Every day, the moment and the movement grow stronger. Which brings me precisely to the topic of this session. Football belongs to the world. Having spent the last 30 years at the forefront of the global football industry, as a founder, a former CEO of the World Leagues and the European League Association, I know far too well that football is much more than a game, and sincerely, without doubt, much more than a normal business. It is the world's universal language, spoken fluently on every village, on every city, on every country around the world. It unites people in moments of joy and passion. It inspires hope. It opens doors. It bridges cultures. It unifies humanity with the power that little other sectors can. But for football and the wider sport to fulfill its mission, its indeclinable, invaluable role to the full, sport must assume accountability for its own affairs. It must lead by example. And lead by example means exactly this: to put integrity where it belongs, and that is right at the podium. This is, ladies and gentlemen, our time, our responsibility, our collective effort. And the time to show it, the time to show leadership, the time to show that we really mean what we say is now. And this is precisely why SIGA exists. To provide the most advanced set of universal standards on sport integrity, to ensure that sport can walk the walk and merit the trust, the confidence of passion, the passion of the supporters, of the investors, the public interest, of which the government is the custodian. So today, I invite each and every one of you to side with SIGA and to join us in this global movement. And to move forward with the fireside chat that will begin now, let me introduce someone whose introduction is not required, whose knowledge and expertise are legitimately known as the state of the art. A man who I have the honor and pleasure of being close friend with for 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask to join me on stage my dear friend and colleague, Giorgio Marchetti. He is the Deputy Secretary General and Director of Football of our valued partner, UEFA. Giorgio. Thank you. Thank you. And now that the audience has been warmed up, let's begin. We switch? Yes. We switch? Sorry. Giorgio, we have to switch.
Yeah, that's right.
I give you the best spot.
Is it the best?
Yeah, I do that.
They look the same.
I do that. What are friends for? Great. Giorgio, without further ado, let's go and let's jump straight to the pitch. First of all, a warm welcome of appreciation for joining us here, for accepting our invitation, and for crossing the skies and the continents to be here with us today. We have a lot of topics, pressing matters that we could obviously discuss with great interest for the audience, but we cannot escape the evidence, which is football's expansion and the fast pace of evolution that it has been undergoing, and with it, UEFA itself. New markets, new hosts, new audience. Giorgio, how far and how fast should UEFA go in this global growth?
We have to go as far as possible. Not forgetting one thing, you said it before. I just move one word. You said, football is much more than a game and more than a business. I would say that football is more than a game and much more than a business. So, and that's what we should never lose sight of. Because this football at its elite level is of course a planetary big business. One of the biggest, certainly in the sports world. But football is deeply rooted in its legacy, in its traditions, in its communities. That's what it is. And if you don't keep the game in front of the business, then this is most likely to develop into the directions that we don't really recognize and that we don't think are the good ones. Obviously, at its peak level, football generates a lot of revenues, but these revenues are also part of the pyramid. So one of the factors, defining factors, what we call the European sports model, which football is fully shaped of, is solidarity. So what is generated at the top must drop down to the level of the grassroots, because we are one pyramid. And if we don't understand this one, we definitely don't understand what football is, at least what football is in Europe.
Precisely. I think I agree with that vision, of course. This is not our first discussion, our first conversation. It has been kept alive for many, many years, but there is no doubt that you have touched the nerve. It's something that transcends sport itself. It's something that cannot be compared with an ordinary business, and that is why, with the respect and implementation of those fundamental principles of which UEFA has been the guardian and so sensitive about, and I'm a witness of that because, as we know, my job for more than 20 years was to lead the European leagues. It is undoubtful a very delicate balance between competition, between solidarity, and between the community impact. And I think UEFA is known as the state of the art as far as professional and non-professional football is concerned, and it would not be possible without that balance. And of course, without integrity, because integrity is at the heart of the success and the global appeal that UEFA competitions have enjoyed. But let's address another neighboring topic, which is the transformation, the overall of UEFA club competitions. The dynamo, the impact, the drive, the spirit of positive contamination that you see before, during, and after every match. What pushed UEFA to take such a decisive step, and what were the main objectives for the audience?
Well, I can easily say that we tried, if possible, to make our competitions even better. Because, at the end of the day, we can look like scientists. We are not scientists. We are people who care about the game. We are people who care about football lovers. And we have a duty to make sure that all what is our football continues to shine now and in the future. Now, the Champions League is considered the best competition in the world. This probably is. It's the best players, the best clubs. Um, so, and the other two competitions, because we have three, Europa League and Conference League as well, the same. So nothing was broken in these competitions, but years ago we started reflecting with the clubs, so the main stakeholders of these competitions, and said, okay, what should we let these competitions continue the way they are, or should we think, look, review, go in depth into their formats and see if there is something which can be made better? And of course, when you look in depth, in a granular way, to the elements of the competition, you always find something that could be improved. We thought, for example, that this group phase had become a little bit outdated in some cases. It could really not deliver the best of excitement, because in many cases the groups were at the dead end already after 4 matches or 5 matches, so the last matches maybe were dead rubber. So we looked into it. We wanted to find something which could deliver uncertainty, unpredictability, enjoyment, to reduce the number of dead matches till the very end. So we found that this format could actually deliver that, and also more diversity. At the end of the day, in a group, the clubs could find in the group phase only 3 other clubs, and they could play them twice. But this way, now they find 8 different clubs, so there is much more diversity introduced in this competition. When we think the fans have understood it. In the beginning, of course, there was some skepticism, and we were also quite worried if it would actually work. We were convinced that it would work, but until you see it in practice, you don't know, actually. We thought that in the first season, actually, all the objectives were achieved, and we are now up for another season where we are seeing again a lot of unpredictability in these matches, and we think that it can deliver again. And for the future, we are really very confident that this will establish a new, brilliant era of these competitions.
I have no doubt about that, although I must make a confession. Because for many years, I was convinced that it was impossible to improve what was already the state of the art. And UEFA convinced me that it was still possible, and that is what you are delivering now. You mentioned a few key pillars, a few key principles, like the uncertainty of results, the open model of competition, but also for this, competitive balance is crucial. That is what makes football so interesting. Our inability to predict who's going to win and who's going to raise the trophy at the end of the season. On the other hand, we see a major transformation across European football, and I would say even world football, with multi-club ownership structures, with investment funds, coming more and more into European football. How is UEFA preventing and tackling the risk of competitive imbalance and consequently all its detrimental effects?
Well, that's probably one of our most serious challenges that we have, because everything which is going on in professional football is actually going in the other direction, creating more imbalance, opening the gaps. This is the result of a number of things, and the things which are not necessarily in football. They concern the legal framework, they concern the evolution of the markets, evolution of technologies. So what we're facing today is a clear trend of rich becoming richer and the others falling apart. So this happens within the leagues, domestic leagues, but even more it happens at a European scale. So between countries, between big leagues and the smaller leagues. So how can we redress it? Because when it comes to the European scale, one principle which we can never leave aside is that we need to give a chance to everyone. So our competitions are truly European. It's not competitions designed just for the best. These competitions must give opportunities of access to all. But when the big comes together in the competition with someone which is much smaller in budgets, in revenues, in fan base and opportunities, etc., then the competition risks to become imbalanced. So it's not an easy one. Obviously, we try our best with the distribution system and with the solidarity system, because we have a big number of clubs which play every year in our competitions. 108 clubs can play between September and at least until December, January. But there are more than 700 clubs in the European top professional leagues. And obviously, some of them can try the qualifications. If they don't qualify, they stay out. So we distribute money, and this is very important money that we distribute outside the participating clubs, those participating in the competition. So we've increased the share for non-participating clubs from the 4% to 7% of the global revenue of the competitions. And actually, the UEFA competitions are the only real redistributor of revenues outside the competition themselves. Just to give you an element, before the clubs, the Champions League clubs, start receiving their shares, 1.2 billion euros every year are taken out and distributed as solidarity to non-participating clubs, to clubs which participate only in qualifying rounds, to beef up the shares of Europa League and Conference League, and to pay all the costs of all competitions. So this is solidarity at a level which is probably unparalleled. And we know that it still remains a challenge to have to avoid that the balance fades away even more, but we think that this is a serious contribution, at least to keep the unity of European football together.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Not sure if this was a sign to say that we have only remaining 10 minutes, but I will count with the understanding of the production team, because I think these are amazingly interesting topics, and it's not every day that we have the opportunity to address them here. But shifting from another important area, women's football. I have the opportunity of attending several UEFA Euro women's this summer in Switzerland, and I must say it was unbelievable. Question is, how can UEFA ensure a long-term sustainable future for women's football in its own competition, but also with an impact at national level? How can the game grow to the standards of men's football? And which lessons you think women's football can extract and benefit from men's football?
This is a serious point. UEFA has invested not recently, but starting already long time ago, a lot in women's football. And when I say investment, it's not purely financial investment. This commitment is resources, is leadership to convince the movement to buy in. I have to say that what we have seen in the last 10 years is a huge growth of this game. And the growth has come thanks not just to the UEFA work, to the FIFA work, but also to the understanding and the work of the national associations of the clubs. The professional clubs have really turned seriously into women's football over the last 10 years. This has marked a serious change of gear in the way that women's football is being treated, and the way women's football is continuously developing. We had, as you said, Emanuel, we had a fabulous Women's Euro this summer. It really was a landmark event. It has marked it has taken the game at a different level. But this is not enough. We have strategies. We had a 5-year strategy which ended in 2024, and a new strategy now approved which will expand until 2030. So we are planning to invest 1 billion euros in these 6 years in order to allow the women's game to progress. And when I say progress, it means 360 degrees. It's opportunities for players, coaching, referees, professionalizations of the leagues, uh, taking the events at the next level, empowering women in leading and guiding their own game, as well as growing in the men's game. So it's really a complex strategy which requires the commitment and the solid determination of all the stakeholders in order to succeed. But we have seen the progress so far, and we are sure that between now and 2030, we will see again a remarkable progress.
Thank you, Giorgio. This leads me to perhaps my final question, and it's at the heart of what UEFA stands for and why UEFA fights for, which is the credibility of sport. And the credibility of sport at a European level, of course, is not something that depends or is influenced by the quality and how shining the trophies are, but the trust that organizations are legitimately earning. And UEFA, no doubt, has done an amazing job over the years in terms of enhancing its governance. And I fought a lot, as you know, for that, to ensure that leagues, in my case, would have not only a seat at the table, but a meaningful, impacting way to influence decisions and to improve the game at all levels. A lot has been said about governance, and I know this is a fertile ground and a very hot topic. But what is UEFA currently doing to further enhance its governance and to meet the expectations of the global integrity community?
We are, of course, facing threats. Football is facing threats and risks as all the other sports. And historically, you know, we can go from the risk of doping, match fixing. We, of course, always tackle these two scourges with appropriate structures, with appropriate actions. Now, we have established long time ago UEFA club licensing to make sure that the European club system is healthy. We have upgraded it with the financial sustainability rules to make sure that football clubs remain sustainable everywhere and at all levels of professionalism. We are now facing new issues. You mentioned the multi-ownership of clubs. Obviously, multi-ownership means more investment coming into football, which is good. It means also, at the same time, a potential threat to the way football is perceived. If clubs belonging to the same group, to the same control, but by the same owner, would participate in the same competition, this may give rise to doubts about the integrity of the competition. So this is it's an important point. Football is a game. A game ceases to be appealing if it ceases to be perceived as having full integrity and authenticity. So we are fully aware of this, and we have rules. We try to implement our rules in order to make sure that there is never the integrity of football is called into question. I want to add the last thing, because when you mention governance, modern governance is multifaceted and is a complex governance. In the old times, the governing bodies were sitting on the system, they were ruling the system, their decisions were unquestionable and undisputable. Today, governance is something else. Today, governance means sharing decisions with the stakeholders, means decision making by agreements, by consultation, not by unilateral actions or unilateral decisions. That's what we're doing with the European stakeholders, with the leagues, of course with our shareholders, which are the national associations, but with the leagues, with the clubs, with players, with the fans. We have created structures, we have a structured dialogue with them, we've included, and we are in the process of including even more stakeholders in our bodies, in our committees, and even in our executive committee. this process is not accomplished yet, but the important thing is that decisions must be made with the highest degree of sharing possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think integrity is the way, governance is indispensable, but action will always speak louder than words. And that is why I think UEFA deserves my respect and the respect of many who have fought to see these long-standing aspirations becoming a reality. I can never forget where I was when the world shut down with the pandemic. I was in Lyon. I was in Alexander Seferin's office, the UEFA president, and we were about to record a short video, a short fireside chat for a major conference we were holding in New York City. Obviously, the conditions were not favorable to that, but the leadership, the ability to take tough decisions in moments of crisis, the commitment to walk the walk, to honor commitments, to be accountable for. This is what I've seen in UEFA for the past 25, 30 years of my direct personal experience. We met a long time before that. UEFA was in charge of Lega Calcio, and I was the Portuguese League. Go figure, one day we will be here. But what unites us is not the passion for just the passion of sport. It's the commitment to always continue to work together with inclusion, with respect for our diversity of opinions, but always trying to find solutions where sometimes many others see adversities. Naming and faming is the purpose of SIGA, working collaboratively. And this is what we signed on our cooperation agreement, to unite efforts and to mobilize the best of our ability to ensure that we had the best possible governance, we had trust on the way competitions are run, and we would be accountable to the public. Because without the public, without the fans, without the governments, without the investors, football would not exist. Not in accordance with our vision. So Giorgio, thank you very much for joining us here. Thank you very much to sharing and to unveiling a little bit of the vision, the mission, the purpose of UEFA. And thank you also for being a valued partner, a committed supporter of SIGA, because integrity is the way. Actions speak louder than words, but the results are the factors that make us different. Shukran. Thank you very much. And you, George is at your disposal. I'm at your disposal. And join us tomorrow for the Sport Integrity Awards. Thank you very much. Shukran.